departments in urban centers around the country reducing the standards to try to attract more persons interested in becoming police officers. We know in Chicago we're down 1,000 police officers year over year. We know from our friend, or now retired, I think, Chicago Police Lieutenant John Garrido, 300 officers are leaving the Chicago Police Department on an annual basis at the present rate. They're not retiring. They're going to another police department.
Right.
They're just retiring from Chicago law enforcement.
And some suburban police departments are offering, signing bonuses up to $10,000.
Yeah, and you have recruitment being made, recruitment efforts being made by states like Florida, Texas, elsewhere, in states like New York, California, Illinois, to get these experienced police, perhaps a salary bump, but they'll have the added benefit of being backed by the civilian political authorities and perhaps local prosecutors too. The people that they arrest who are guilty of crimes will actually be prosecuted, convicted, sentenced appropriately. One police officer who was CPD then left for a suburban police department wants to cant. Officer Jimmy Kay joins us now. Jimmy Kay, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. So, boy, a lot of questions there. I guess the story, why'd you leave?
And
why do you want to come back, and why can't you?
So the reason I left, a lot of the other officers who've left can relate to me. It's just, I think we just got fed up with the leadership and the command staff of the police department. I left in the middle of 2021 and just figured I'd give a try to the suburban side of policing. I've been at the suburban department for a year now, a little over a year, and I just don't think it's me. It's for me. I think what's special about working in Chicago is that, it carries a lot of substance to it. You're working for a big city. You're working for the third largest city in the United States. I grew up here also, far northwest side. I think it just has a lot of greater significance working in the big city compared to anywhere else, whether it's working in the neighborhood, bordering where you grew up, or, the historic downtown. It's just, it carries a lot of substance to it of just working in Chicago. And I can also touch on just saying, I think the Chicago Police Department probably has the greatest camaraderie along with the patrol officers. Not a big fan of the command staff, or the mayor, but definitely, when you're working the beat car with your coworkers and you're going to some of these hectic calls for service, you trust each other, you want to back each other up, and I am confident to say that CPD has the greatest camaraderie among the beat car.
Well, are you bored in the suburbs, and which suburb do you work for?
So I'll say that I work in a western suburb that borders Cook County.
Okay.
I wouldn't say bored. I just miss the style of policing with Chicago, and I miss working with all my friends back in my old district, and it's just something about how special working for the city is.
All right, so let's just be honest. You can't stand those Starbucks soldiers at the downtown Hinsdale. That's what I'm hearing, right? Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, they're terrible. I mean, I understand it. I mean, I have no idea where you work, so I'm not saying it, but I'm just sort of surmising. So we're down 1,000 officers year over year. You've got all these officers leaving Chicago to go to other departments who are not retiring. There's this redoubling of efforts to get people into the academy to train, and yet you can't go back to CPD. You're trying to go back, and you can't get back. Why?
So there's no straight answer on why I can't go back, or my friends as well. I personally know 106 officers that have left CPD and are trying to go back.
That's a lot.
Myself, Oh, it's as many officers as Lightfoot's mayor detail. So,
That is a lot. Wow, that really puts it in perspective. Yeah, right.
exactly. So myself, along with a lot of my buddies, we are not progressing in this hiring process. I applied in April of last year, and I have not heard back since June. A lot of my friends too have not heard any progress with this hiring process. And just for some perspective as well, when I originally applied to CPD years ago, I was hired in 8 months. Now today, because they need the bodies, a new hire who's never been to police who applies to Chicago can get hired as quick as 3 months. And so there's no issue to bring us back.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but is it a collective bargaining agreement where, like, if you leave, then you lose your seniority, and so those that are on the list or in the academy get priority, or what? I mean, because you have all these mayoral candidates talking about how the first thing I'm going to do is hire more police and so on and so forth. Then even Triple Threat is saying that now too, to some extent. But then you got 100 officers out there, like you're saying, that are experienced, and I could be hired and deployed straight away with no learning curve.
So there is a proposal that the Chicago Police's union, the FOP, they have proposed a rehire program to the city. Speaking with the FOP, they made some good progress with the city's human resources department, and they're for it. They want to bring us back. However, we're currently waiting for Lightfoot to sign off on this. For the FOP, this document has been sitting at her desk for the past 2 months, since December.
Really?
Wow.
So the Lightfoot knows she has to bring bodies back to the street. We know we're short staffed, and why can't 100 officers return back to the department? Like I said, we're experienced. We know how to do the job. We know how we've done this. We've done this for a few years now, and just for some extra perspective too, a lot of these suburban departments are hiring experienced officers. When I was looking to leave Chicago, I applied to a few suburban agencies. I was getting offers within 1 to 2 months, and it's a quick process. You do the interview, they do a quick background check on you, and you do a little medical checkup at the doctor's office to make sure you're all healthy and ready to work the street. So there's no excuse to bring us back. I think it's just Lightfoot, and she is just not for it. And
Right.
you'd assume she would take credit for this leading up to election, but we don't know how she is.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
And-
I mean, by quitting, you probably upset her, so she doesn't want to do anything to help you.
Well, also, maybe she doesn't. I mean, in addition to perhaps not really wanting, sort of begrudgingly having to hire more cops at some point, she certainly doesn't want to do it now and upset the delicate balance of the Black Lives Matter folks and the lakefront leftists who've been brainwashed into believing the police are the enemy and so forth. I mean, that's who she needs. If she has a big splash of hiring 106 officers, then she's going to upset some parts of her constituency, I suspect.
And that's very valid, and that's probably true. And I'll add this as well. So it's a common thing within the Chicago Police Department to offer a leave of absence. These leave of absences allow you to leave the department and usually return back within a year. I'm sure the policy has changed throughout the years of at CPD, but anyone who applies for it gets it approved. They leave, they come back, and of recent years, when I was looking to leave in 2021, I applied for this leave of absence, as did everyone else that has left. We were all denied that leave of absence, and this is the first time ever in the history of the Chicago Police Department where these leaves were being denied. I mean, who else can you point the finger to? I think it was Lightfoot, and she was just being herself and denied us our leave.
How long were you on CPD before you left?
I was with CPD for 5 years.
Okay. And these other officers that these 106 officers you speak of, these are all guys and gals that have years of experience?
Correct. I mean, it's ranging from 2 years to even some people that have 20 plus years that also want to return back.
And there's nobody was there's no like bad apples here, to use the common parlance. There's nobody that left under clouds or disciplinary problems, or we're not trying to shoehorn bad cops in or anything like that.
I'm not 100% sure about that, but I would have to say no, because most of these people that have resigned went to another police department.
Right.
These suburban agencies wouldn't have hired us if we had that bad complaint or anything. Any baggage that we had applying, because we all have to go through a background investigation.
Can your union help you at all?
Well, they are.
They're trying
FOPs,
to. I know, but I mean, are they going to be effective? Because she doesn't like John Catanzara.
Yes, she does not like him at all.
Not at all.
Maybe that's another reason and factor of why the rehire proposal is being ignored. But the union has been helpful, and they're the ones who, when we've spoken to the union, they're the ones who came up with this rehire program after they realized so many guys and gals want to come back to the department.
Well, and of course, then that's hardly a legitimate excuse. I don't like John Catanzara, so I'm not going to hire 100 cops that could potentially improve the public safety situation in Chicago. That's not a legitimate excuse. That may be the truth or part of the truth, but that certainly is not defensible. This is not about personalities. This is about public safety. So just going back to why you want to go back, though, I get the neighborhood thing. Are you from family of cops?
Yes, my father was a retired police officer.
Yeah,
for Chicago.
Neighborhood.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, I get that, and the camaraderie. We see that, and officers, you see, so you get it. But I mean, still, are you banking on a change in leadership in Chicago? Because it seems to me what we're hearing from a lot of cops, and what you're seeing from a lot of cops who leave, as you were saying, is, look, we don't like the command structure. Obviously, the politicians don't have our back. It makes it impossible for us to do our job. We're rearresting the same people over and over again. They're turned right back out. It's dangerous for us, and so forth. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, those things don't sound very attractive.
You know what? And those things you've mentioned, I believe that affects policing, not just in Chicago, but the whole state, nationwide. It's a difficult job right now, and I think what keeps me sane, along with other people, to stay within this profession is believing that the pendulum is going to swing back. Specifically with Chicago, the command staff is an issue. Leadership problems are problematic. But I think we just have this hope. I'll say this: vote Paul Vallas. I think he's a great candidate. I think he can lead the city back to some normalcy, and he is willing to help and work with the police department as well. And along with getting rid of Superintendent Brown and just switching up the command staff, and I think that would make a huge difference and just make the department a much better place as well.
And he just got endorsed by the Chicago Tribune this morning. They said that Chicago's in need of a turnaround, and Paul Vallas is the person to do it. And
Chicago Tribune, that is an endorsement I would not want, but okay, sure.
Well, that just came out.
The Chicago Tribune has not been on the side of police. The NPR Times, Chicago media is not on the side of police. If I was Paul Vallas, I would take that endorsement and I'd rip it up publicly and say, it's all well and good. I'm happy to get the support I get from anywhere I get it, but let's just be honest about the Chicago media and how they have conspired with Lightfoot and Fox to create the environment that Chicagoans are currently experiencing. I'd love to see something that is emblematic of a guy willing to really take on the institutional villains in the city, like the Chicago Press Corps. This would be a great opportunity for him to do it. I mean, it's not a commentary on your endorsement of Vallas, Jimmy. I'm just saying the Chicago media is not your friend, as I'm sure you've experienced.
Oh, I absolutely agree. But at this time, I'll take any help that
I hear
Vallas
you.
can get.
Yep.
He
I
has
hear
my
you.
vote.
So, Officer Jimmy, real quick, just because you were on the force during 2020 when we had, the summer of joy with the George Floyd riots, and there was 3 separate ones, one downtown, on the north side, south side. Were you told to stand down, or what orders were you given?
I mean, obviously the call volume was insanity. We weren't even responding to calls. The lootings were happening left and right. At the end of the day, we were never told to stand down. It was more so listen to the radio if an officer is calling for help. Get to that area, back them up, and let's keep each other safe. And that's all it was. The radio was blaring left and right. Officers calling 10-1s, which is an emergency. It was just running around the whole city, just backing each other up, and we couldn't respond to calls. We couldn't take action for the crime happening in front of us because we had to back each other up.
Speaking of not responding to calls, there was this study done by wirepoints.org about 911 calls. I think it was the calendar year 2021, and it was about it was 60% of calls, 911 calls, went unresponded to. Some 400,000 calls out of the total volume went unresponded to. 400,000 citizen calls. Now, some of them may have been frivolous and so on and so forth, but that's too big a number to ignore. How do you respond to that?
I mean, obviously, we need more bodies on the street. I think CPD also has this. How can I say it? It's like they have all these units that are useless. For example, the community safety team. You go on social media. These officers are handing out, I don't know, books or in the kitchen cooking something. And I'm all for community policing, but I know this unit. This unit was still around when I was with the Chicago Police Department. There's hundreds of police officers in that unit. Do we need officers involved with community policing? Absolutely. But do we need over 100?
What do they do? What do they do? They just look on social media to see if anybody's making a threat, or what do they do?
They do a few things, but recently I've been seeing that they've been doing a lot of community engagement, like I said, which is a great thing. But we don't need hundreds of officers to be doing that, especially when the beat cars are short-staffed citywide.
Yeah, a good way to do community engagement is respond to 911 calls.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And we also have the CPD has CAPS, which is specifically dealing with community policing. So there's a lot of units that are. It's just I think they're useless. There's a lot of administrative spots inside that police officers are working, which is basically an office job for them. That's unnecessary. Hire a civilian, or put the police officers on the street. The priority should be getting people working the beat car and making sure these districts are fully staffed to respond to the calls. Obviously, we got calls pending, and there's studies that are proving that. So why don't we address that issue?
Yeah. Officer Jimmy Kay, former Chicago police officer for 5 years, left for Suburban Department. Now he, and as he said, another 106 fellow officers are trying to return, but Lori Lightfoot is sitting on it. Maybe this will become a campaign issue. It should be. Jimmy Kay, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck getting back on the force.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time. You guys take care and stay safe, all right?
Yep, you too. Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
First, we decide where we want to go. Then we need to know the best way to get there. Hi, my name's Adam Barada. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold. We're the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. We teach people how to own physical gold and silver. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink Award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000